Hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Matini Time on YouTube, the only channel that gives a voice to the people who are not on the mainstream media, and mainstream media doesn't want people to hear them. We have 27 mayoral candidates in San Antonio, and only selected few are called the premier candidate or the legit candidates right now. So we have 4 of the candidates here with us today, and they are very legit candidates as well, and they're not being heard enough. And also we had 3 confirmation of other candidates that they had canceled. They had other commitments as well. So with that being said, each candidate will have 90 seconds to introduce themselves, tell us a little bit about their background and the reason they chose to run for the city mayor position. Each candidate will have 90 seconds to answer specific questions that we're going to ask. And each candidate will have 60 seconds to rebuttal on those questions in case their name is mentioned or a policy they don't agree with. They can have a 60-second rebuttal. And at the end, we will have 3-minute conclusion for each candidate to tell us why they chose to run, what their plan for the first 100 days, how would they define success at the end of their term, and why should we vote for them. So with all dues, we're going to give each candidate right now 2 minutes to introduce themselves and tell us about their background. Mr. Chris Reyes, we'll start with you.
All right, so my name is Christopher Reyes. I'm running for mayor, number 4 on the ballot. Born and raised here in San Antonio. Grew up on the east side, the south side, and the northeast side. The whole reason I'm running for mayor is because while I was in the military 15 years, every time I came back, the city got worse and worse each time. When I finally got out of the Army in 2017, my wife told me that I should stop complaining and do something about it. So I started getting involved in politics. I'm just tired of the way the city placates to certain areas of the city, meaning that they want to spout equity and they infuse capital on the sides of town where they live, the northeast side, the northwest side, the north side, where everyone else on the other parts of town maintain the status quo. Nothing changes for them. This whole thing is not about DEI or who's the worse off than the other. The city needs to be brought up as a whole across the board. I'm tired of the city council splitting the city in half, saying the haves and have-nots, because they want to just continue to perpetuate this division in the city. And we're not going to get anywhere if it continues to happen. We need someone who's going to go in there and unify everybody. And I'm not talking about, equity, because equity is pulling people back down if they're already up. We need equality, which gives everyone the opportunity to make something happen in their lives, not shortchanging people who happen to have an advantage. That's not how it should work. So for me, my whole platform is transparency. I think that's the key to ensuring that this corruption that we've seen and that we've had comes to an end, because everyone would be held accountable. Accountability is my second tier, because these people should not be getting a hand slap, and that's my time.
Then my turn?
Mr. Sanchez, please proceed.
Yeah. So lifelong San Antonian. My background has been full-time in finance. I've been in the industry 15 years. I lived in New York, lived in Austin, and looking back, coming back, there's grave issues with San Antonio's policies. A lot of that is what Chris touched on. It's lack of transparency, but most importantly, it's lack of economic diversification and lack of economic competition. Competition inspires innovation, and without competition, then we do not innovate as a city. As entrepreneurs, we don't try to restructure whatever industry we're in to better it for the citizens, for our industry itself. Public school system is lacking. The public school system is lacking because of that economic issue. There are students that graduate, and the first thing they want to do is they want to leave because there's no industry built here. There's no career path here. Seniors are met with rising cost and limited resources when it comes to funds. A lot of them don't have equity to tap into from their home. the number one biggest investment that you understand here at Title Crownage, right? There's just a lot of things that are wrong, and I think, with all due respect to everyone, I think we need to quit electing lawyers into offices where positions are set on actually instilling change in an economy, and that requires economic perspective. That's why I'm running. It's important. 2025 is a vital opportunity for San Antonio. We have 4-year term now where we could really, really make some change with the right people in office on the council level at the mayor's seat. But it's going to take San Antonians to think outside the box and really change the structure of what the media, what the organizations that they're a part of, the chambers of commerce, what you call so-called journalists in the city who run biased podcast. It's time to think different. It's time to change that movement and vote with what makes most common sense. And what makes most common sense is not what a lot of these guys are doing.
Thank you. Mr. Melvin?
Well, first, let me thank you and Crown Ridge Title for hosting an opportunity for us to share our opinions and vision for the future of San Antonio. My career started when I came back to Texas 17 years ago. I came back to serve Governor Perry as his small business advocate, and in that, I serve the state of Texas's small business community through their growth and development strategies, helping them to expand both domestically and internationally. I launched my own company in 2010 and was very fortunate. The state of Texas has been extremely, extremely good to me. Most recently, I've developed Park Avenue at the Pearl and Legacy Lofts on St. Mary's, two major townhome developments that have afforded me an opportunity to kind of see the city from a number of different perspectives. While doing that, I also served as the chairman for San Antonio for Growth on the East Side, which is a small business focused organization or economic development focused organization that helps businesses with their growth strategies here in the city of San Antonio. It was there that I got to see the city from various angles. And much like what was stated previously, there are a lot of activities that are taking place that are not of benefit to the people of San Antonio, but they are of benefit to a select few. And I believe that that has been highlighted throughout this political season. We've been able to see actions and activities on behalf of our news media, our independent news media, our chambers of commerce. These are entities that people look towards for truth. They look to them for a pulse of what is to come. And I feel as though they have not only done a disservice to the people of San Antonio, but I believe that they have misled them as well, which has completely changed how I view them.
Thank you. Ms. McCullough.
So I'm Jade McCullough. I'm running for mayor because of an incident that happened to me when it came to living in the affordable housing they say we have. The apartment complex that I was residing in let me sit in sewage water for 2 months and ended my lease, making me homeless. I'm fighting for those people who feel like they don't have a voice when it comes to renting. And there are laws that are put in place. However, they feel voiceless because, unfortunately, most people don't read their lease. They're just happy they have a place. So it's advocating for the people that have a lease, that are renting, and making sure that they understand what they sign. It's probably smart to do it before you sign, but we just sometimes it's the simple fact of just getting off the street and not depending on somebody or just being happy that you have that place. So that's who I'm advocating for and why I'm fighting so hard. Another thing is I'm a small business owner to a wonderful childcare business, and we take care of all the in-between. So the overnight, the weekend care, the travel care, doctor's visits, the whole nine, sick kids, the whole nine. So unfortunately, when everything happened with the apartment, I ended up losing all my clientele when it came to my business. So that was hard because I had over 52 children I was taking care of, and it dropped down to 0 in a matter of 2 months. So I'm advocating for those parents that spend a lot on childcare. San Antonio doesn't have a baseline when it comes to childcare. And we definitely need to put one out there, because you have these babysitters charging $20 an hour. However, the parent's making $12 an hour. So once the city taps in and actually puts a baseline out there, like, hey, if you have a certain amount of experience, then probably this is a price racket or price whatever that you can charge parents. I think we need to advocate for most of the parents out there and the babysitters, but that's why I'm fighting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so in this roundtable discussion today, we have 5 categories, starting with economic development, safety, healthcare, education, equity, and community engagement. I will start with the economic development, and our first question is about Project Marvel, which is, in a nutshell, a project to include building a new Spurs arena, an entertainment venue, expanded convention center, a convention hotel, and reimagined and reworked Alamo Dome. It's a multi-billion-dollar project, and the city is not clear on who's going to pay for it, and they tell us different thing every day. Who's funding it also is not very clear. So we will start with you, Mr. Melvin. What's your take on Project Marvel, and what do you plan, or how do you plan to deal with it?
So I think that it's important for us to have a brief history with respect to the Spurs and how they have moved around from the Alamo Dome to the Frost Bank Tower and now into the new facility. The Spurs are nothing more than a tenant. And because they are a tenant, when their lease is up, they are open to move around as they see fit. The Alamo Dome was built in the early 90s to seat 60,000 individuals with an anticipation that we were going to get a professional football team. With that, there was a great deal of economic development that was promised for the people of East San Antonio, and that never occurred. The San Antonio Spurs then went to the AT&T Center, which was built by the Bexar County, and they have fulfilled that lease as well. There was a lot of economic development promises that were made in that deal as well. Houston Street was supposed to be lined with small businesses to provide a San Antonio experience for those that were going to watch our beloved Spurs. So twice we've been promised a great deal of activity, and twice we've been lied to. So this third promise, which has more bells and whistles and has all of the makings of the greatest development on earth, we're supposed to believe that they're capable of being able to fulfill that obligation as well. And so when we look at its location and its impact on communities such as Lavaca, which is a historic community, and how they intend to provide an economic development structure, I think it would be foolish of us to believe them a third time without the details being explained to a degree that we understand how it is going to be done and how they are going to increase the economic vitality of the area. We currently look at Hemisphere Park. Hemisphere Park was the latest and greatest that was supposed to bring about all of this economic activity. But then you shut down Alamo Street directly in front of the park. So all of the businesses in South Alamo are operating at 50% of their anticipated revenue. So I just want us to look at it from look at it from an objective standpoint. We have always received promises and we've always fallen short, but it's never at the expense of the city. It's always at the expense of the business owners who have chosen to invest here.
Taxpayer.
And so I think it's important for us to go into this eyes wide open. And as mentioned before, there are no true understanding of what the nature of this deal is.
Thank you. Thank you. We're going to move into the next question. We have a question from a viewer on social media. which is about foreign investment tax credit. And I will read out the question to you. And this question, I'm going to start with Ms. McCullough and see her take or her answer for that question. So here, the question is, I'm an Egyptian businessman and currently looking into migration to the USA by buying a new Trump citizenship. I don't know what that is, but
He's
It's a
selling
million.
a card.
that
Yeah,
that
a card for
well,
$1 million.
but I think people around the world right now, they're calling it Trump citizenship. So $5 million Trump citizenship.
Wow.
Crazy.
Nonetheless, what is needed by the people of San Antonio, and what kind of a project can I establish for San Antonio if I decide to move to your city and move my capital to San Antonio?
So is he like coming in to better our economy? Like what?
Well, obviously, this is an Egyptian businessman with vast amount of resources that he can or he is capable of buying Trump card for $5 million, and I can imagine he has a lot more than that to invest in the United States, and obviously San Antonio is on his radar.
Yeah,
So
that's-
what would you do to attract this guy and similar guys like him to San Antonio?
Gotcha. So obviously, we definitely need to hear, or let me do it from this take. We definitely need to do an audit, because I'm taking from Chris, but we definitely need to do an audit to see where our funds are going and if we have any leaky holes in our system, which we probably do. And so with my first week into being mayor, that is something that I want to make sure that we do as a city, so we can understand what we need to do and how far we need to go when it comes to bringing more for the community. As far as San Antonio, I'm not too sure until nobody's really too sure until they sit into the seat and see the entirety of everything. So I want to sit down and kind of research what we need, how much we need, but make it as attractive as we can. We can't really know for sure until we sit in that seat. So, but as far as him coming in and, possibly doing a deal with us, I think construction, first and foremost, would probably help us out when finishing our roads, our streets, or what have you. That's something that we
But
definitely
what would
need.
that get him if he helps us finish our roads and streets?
See, I won't know until I'm a small business owner. These guys have definitely, dabbled in those larger deals. So I'm not too particularly sure, but I can definitely do the research that I need to do to make sure that we make it attractive for him. So
If I
Thank you.
could, I'd like to comment.
Rebuttal?
Yeah,
Go
well, I
ahead.
wouldn't call it a rebuttal. Yeah. So I think when we look at foreign direct investment in the city of San Antonio, it's something that we're not new to. It's something that has been going on for quite some time. If you look at Toyota, obviously that's a foreign direct investment. A lot of us don't realize that ramen noodles, Manchurian, that is manufactured here in San Antonio. And so there's already a number of visa programs that allow for like investment to come into the city for its improvement. So EB5 is one of those that allow for what I would imagine the Egyptian investor. It allows for him to come in and then invest those dollars in a way where he has a mandatory.
EB5 is no longer on the table, as I.
No, it still is. It's moved to the counties, and it's still it's still actively being used.
Okay, so I just want to make sure. So the Trump $5 million Trump card, as it's called, I thought that was canceling the EB5 program. They're canceling that to have the card in
So
its
is it
place.
going to still utilize the same standards by which you have to come in? So is it a $5 million investment plus you have to invest in
No.
a
So
tangible
the Trump card
project?
itself is now it's not an investment. What it is you are basically buying your citizenship, is what it is. It's not investing.
So then
It's a
that's
green card.
Yeah, it's a green
It's a
card.
path to citizenship.
Yeah,
So
and basically you're cutting all the red tape by going that route.
right. So that didn't have any impact on the EB-5 program. The EB-5 program was an opportunity for people to gain citizenship through the investment of dollars in capital improvement projects. So when you look at, it's been successfully used in Oakland. It's been successfully used in a number of territories. We need that. We need to be able to drive that level of investment. And if in relationship to the question, I think I would encourage for investment to be placed in affordable housing, as we have a shortage and a dire need within our city, and being able to direct those dollars in a way that is most beneficial to the need that we have currently.
Is this a question for everyone?
yes, you can comment. Yes,
Okay.
sir. Go ahead,
So
Mr. Sanchez.
Let's put into perspective one broad thing, right? When we think of Trump golden ticket citizenship, what is that providing? Why would an individual in another country want to buy that? Think of the perspective of policy today is America first. Mm-hmm. So our foreign policy is getting flipped on its head, and America first means an opportunity for companies that come in to make money. So we've seen it happen across the board. I think Saudi Arabia announced last month, a couple of others, multi-billion-dollar, trillion-dollar deals that have happened in the past month. This is an opportunity for this gentleman to actually make way into building whatever business that he thinks is going to be beneficial for him to get a return on his investment. Now, you ask me, what is my perspective on what you should come in? Well, let's think what's on the forefront right now. Project Marvel, this plan with $4 billion to build this, which will probably exceed more. Is that the price tag on it?
Last I heard was
Okay.
$4 billion,
So
It's between 5 and 13.
So let's get homie that wants to come in to pay for that price. Let's put his name on the building, and let's satisfy whatever industry that we want to satisfy with that movement, right? But if you ask me, what do my citizens need? They need higher wages, they need better jobs, and they need opportunity to build a path for what they want to keep them here in San Antonio. And that's only done by, again, diversifying the economy, upgrading our public education system, and building the forefront for what that long-term plan is. This isn't something that happens in the next 1 year, in the next 100 days. This is a 5 to 10 year plan. And that perspective is, if he wants a return on his investment with the current policies that are coming into the United States, with America First, with the opportunity to get a return on your investment on the backs of citizens, our trade-off is help me build the infrastructure that's required. And by infrastructure, I mean help me build the businesses that are required to be competitive with Austin, Dallas, Houston. Help me upgrade our education system to be competitive with Harvard, Yale, and any of the other Ivies. There's a lot of help that we could use here. The opportunities are endless, Mr. whatever his name is. But it's just that we need to talk about it in perspective. You want a return on investment? It's going to be a very, very easy return on investment in San Antonio.
Thank you. And Mr. Reyes?
Yeah, so I would say we'd have to take a look overall at the United States and where we're headed. And piggybacking off of Mouse, what he was just talking about is, yeah, we are American first policy now, which these tariffs that are in place are perfect for someone that wants to come in the United States to start a business and to truly prosper. Because with the fact that the tariffs are increasing, if we manufactured the things that are being tariffed here, then his return on investment would be significant, because the cost would be a lot less than importing things. I think a major thing we could do here would be pharmaceuticals, because we don't produce any medication here in the United States. If he were to come here and invest in something of that nature, we're already a medical city. It would just add to and flourish of what we already are doing to start putting that manufacturing of pharmaceuticals here for, whatever the case may be, Tylenol, cancer medication, whatever it is. But I think you would see a huge return on investment, especially on something in that nature, because like I said, we import all those things. And now with the tariffs going on, we don't have that infrastructure here in the United States yet. And that would be a first in, best out looking type quality.
So I want to talk about that. So when we talk about bringing manufacturing back to the U.S., the one thing that we have to appreciate is that it was outsourced to make products cheaper for us to be able to manufacture. So when you look at the auto industry, if you look at a Ford truck, majority of those parts are being manufactured from China, Canada, Mexico, from all over the world. They're assembled here. So the idea of bringing manufacturing back and reducing cost is a little lost, because what happens is we have to pay American wages. And American wages are going to drive the cost of that product when it comes to sale through the roof. And so that is something that we have to contend with when we look at bringing manufacturing back. The reason that it left was because of tariffs, and that it became easier and less expensive to manufacture goods abroad. Now we're trying to reverse the clock. And so I think it requires a little bit more thought than just building a manufacturing facility, because now you go from, an iPhone that cost on average $10 to $20 per phone is now going to be, close to $1,000 just because of the cost of wages that are associated with the U.S.
Well, I'd like to rebuttal that, because the fact of the matter is that our pharmaceuticals, yes, you're correct, they're being produced overseas, and it was so that it would be cheaper to manufacture. But if you look at all the stats, especially in India, where a lot of pharmaceuticals are manufactured, they're basically, it's looked into as cut like a dealer. They're cutting the drugs, and we're not getting the full effective drug that we're supposed to. And in India, by them working in those manufacturing companies, they're allowed to purchase the same medication that we would here at a fraction of the cost, because it's being made there. So in essence, what's happening is, I understand what you're saying, that we moved it out. They moved it out to make more of their bottom line, is what it is, to make a profit. Now you move those back here, yes, we're gonna have to pay American wages, but as the tariffs increase, those wages are not as significant as what it would cost to import those medications.
I got to add on to this.
We're gonna have to change gears a little bit, but go ahead.
This is very important.
Yes.
This is very important.
Okay, go ahead quickly, please.
Robert brought up a good point. Chris brought up a good point, and I'm going to rebuttal on Robert, because understandably, the United States, if you think of what position the United States has had for the past, we'll just say 100 years. Past 100 years, the United States has been the savior of the world, and that's very real. That's a very real perspective that we could take into account. Being the savior of the world, we had the incorporation of the BRICS movement, everyone moving against the United States dollar, right? However, we were still running deficits while everyone is working against trying to deteriorate the US dollar, right? So when you think of trade, when we think of the world, the dependency on the US dollar there's a cliff, and it just has to be checked by the world powers. Inevitably, we're reaching that cliff. We're coming to that cliff, and we're still absorbing deficits in the world. So we have two things working against us. We have the other superpowers of the world that are trying to knock off the US dollar. Number two, we're still absorbing deficits, meaning our debt is still going up, right? So when you think about the perspective of that draws a very clear line in the sand that at one point, people are going to stop bidding in the auction into our bonds, because they're going to say, hey, you know what? The United States dollar is no longer the currency of the world, the reserve currency of the world. That's one perspective to put into it, why these tariff policies make sense to bring investment back home, to bring productivity back home, because the world is moving against us. Two, you have the incorporation of cryptocurrencies that just made that movement of dependency on a reserve currency such as the US dollar, it just expedited that times a million, right? So when you have cryptocurrency movement, why do you think the United States SEC and everyone else were trying to push against that? Because ultimately it hurts the reserve currency of the world. But when you see institutional adoption, because we are in a capitalistic economy, right? Corporations are going to do what's best for their profit. Tariff policy is basically the United States government trying to instill policy. We don't run in a communist country. So the US government can't tell, hey, producer, you're going to produce here. The only action that the US government can do is enforce policies that are going to increase price for them to, hey, say, you know what? It makes more sense to bring manufacturing here. So that's a cliff. That's a very real cliff that we need to talk about if we're going to talk about economic movement, because that cliff, we will inevitably fall. And if we do not check the balances of the world globalization power, then the U.S. will only fall whenever they check our debt. Right now, what we're doing is we're bringing the market down with us. If you look at global economies, it's not just U.S. stock markets that are falling. It's everywhere. Why? Because we are in a globalized economy, and the United States decided to take action against the movement against them, the reserve currency and the trade deficit.
Thank you. We're going to change gears a little bit from economic development. We're going to come back to it. Our next segment is about safety, and I want to start with you, Mr. Reyes.
Yeah.
We have a question from another social media viewer about the stop and frisk, as he called it, which I think what he meant is the current policy of cite and release in San Antonio. The question is, if you saw a thief or that looks like a thief in the mall peeking through windows at every car in the parking lot, most likely he's looking for valuables and he's going to break one of those cars and take it when he finds it. Do you think the police has the right to stop and frisk this guy? And if they do, can they just cite him and release him out to the open, or he needs to be then detained?
So in that scenario, you have to be very careful because you have a lot of issues here in San Antonio already with crime. You have issues with mental health. You don't know what that individual is doing. We can assume what they're doing. It could look like that's what they're doing, but a lot of the times the police are reactionary. They cannot engage that individual and just arrest them for looking into vehicles. What I would say is the stop and frisk thing came up. That's from New York. That's where, was it Giuliani, I believe?
I think it was.
That established that, where anyone that looked like they were doing something out of the ordinary, the police had the authority to stop them, search them, and it was a hard stance they took. I don't think that's the right way to go. I think that, again, they have to investigate. If they saw it, they thought something was going on, investigate the situation, make sure that that individual didn't see them. And once that person makes a move, then there you go. Now you have every right to arrest that individual. If we go the other route, it stirs up a whole bunch of stuff that it doesn't need to. Whether they're in the wrong or not is irrelevant until they have an actual case to say, yes, this person committed a crime. It's the whole slippery slope thing. If we start down that path, it's never ends well.
Thank you. Next question.
No, I want to address that.
Okay.
So
Go ahead,
we
Mr.
have laws in place that are to protect both citizens and officers. And so in the scenario that you provided, if that officer had a reasonable suspicion that something illegal was taking place, he has an opportunity to stop and inquire long enough to either confirm or dispel that reasonable suspicion. And then from there, he can then engage probable cause to effectuate a detainment and or arrest. So I think that the problem that what we saw in New York in a stop and frisk environment is that I did not need reasonable suspicion. I could just stop you. And that the use of that stop and frisk was unbalanced in how it was being applied. So there are rules of engagement that officers should be aware of, and that it is intended to protect all parties involved. So we are a nation of laws, and as a result, following those laws are what we should maintain.
Thank you. Thank you.
Can I?
Actually,
add a
the
little?
next question is to you, Ms. McCullough, and it's about safety as well.
Okay.
So the question is, what changes, if any, would you make to the city's police department?
So one thing that I can say that we have actively been doing is called the SAFE program. And that is pretty much if somebody does not feel safe or if they are in fear, they can call the SAFE officers and they can make their rounds or what have you. One thing that I do advocate for is the small business owners that own storefronts. Across the street from Holmes High School, we have a lot of loitering. And one thing that I can't stand is that the kids took it upon themselves to get vape pens and, just indulging in that type of activity or weed. So one thing that I want to enforce is making sure that we advocate for those small business owners, those shop owners, and making sure that they feel safe while running their business. It's not only with the kids, it's with, a situation happened across the street from homes where a parent took it upon themselves to go after a child because they were fighting in front of her. So instead of, as an adult should walk away from those situations or call the police, she took it upon herself to try to intimidate a child and ended up running over that child. So that was really, really sad because she took justice into her own hands, not the right way, but she ended up running her truck into the shop, one of the shop owners' businesses. So all their front of their storefront was just caved in with a lot of hot mess because she ran over the child. However, it's advocating for those small businesses, making sure that they're heard, making sure that we have enough officers. I know somebody stated that they got 300 plus officers, but how long did they stay in the force? Were they adequately trained? And that's another thing, training. We need to make sure that we're supplying the training, especially for mental health awareness when it comes to going out to a call, making sure that the officer just doesn't engage and feels it upon themselves to just arrest and escalate the situation. We need de-escalation at its finest in San Antonio. So that's one thing that I want to push is making sure that these officers are adequately trained and making sure that we advocate for those small business owners.
Can I rebuttal that?
Yes, sir.
I think it's important to note that, it's tragic hearing a child getting ran over. The biggest thing that I've seen in society today is that not enough, for instance, that business owner should have taken it upon themselves to maybe step out of their business and say, hey, this can't be happening here. We need to change whatever's happening.
It was closed.
It was closed.
Yeah.
So another thing, parents aren't taking responsibility for their kids enough, in my opinion, which causes tragedies like this, right? Which causes other parents to want to try to parent other parents as kids. And then we have a situation arise where this happens. I don't think that there's enough responsibility on the parents' end to really pay attention to what their kids are doing. But two, when we think of community policing or we think of policing in our communities, I think that there's a lot of people that are out there that are afraid to do the right thing because it's going to come back on them and hurt them, whether it's a parent in that sad situation, or a police officer that isn't adequately trained. So I will say that I agree with Jade in terms of adequate training, but I also think that we need to change and mold the perception of society that more police in the community is better. More police in the community is better. Why? Because it helps us alleviate parents like that having to step up and make a mistake, right? But if there was a police that was adequately trained, then that ideally could have, fixed that situation.
Absolutely.
And so I do think more police, and I say that because we have individuals that are running on the campaign that there should not be more police, but inevitably that is the betterment for society. They're there to protect and serve. And I think that needs to be advocated and acknowledged.
Thank you. Next question actually is for Mr. Clayton Perry, who confirmed his attendance with us today, and he's at no show at the moment. So we hope he's doing well and he's doing great. The question was, please ask Clayton Perry, how would he instruct his chief of police to do when dealing with drunk drivers, and what is the proper punishment in his opinion to drunk driving? Any volunteers who would like to answer this on behalf of Mr. Perry?
That was for him?
Absolutely. So, what I think is imperative is for us to stop putting wool over our eyes and listening to individuals who are not fit to hold office. I understand that he has been forgiven, and I am grateful that he sought the forgiveness of the victim that he hit, as well as the forgiveness of God. But that does not change the lack of thought process that goes into his form of leadership. This is about being able to make decisions that are going to benefit us as a society. the decision that was made to consume 15 alcoholic beverages, as confirmed by KSAT, to leave, get in his vehicle, engage in an accident, and then leave the scene only to be found passed out drunk in his backyard, I think it's ludicrous. It shows a lack of maturity. It shows a lack of leadership. And I think that beyond his forgiveness, he has to be held to account. But unfortunately, our media outlets, our chambers of commerce have all found it to be something that is acceptable when it comes to qualifications of a mayoral candidate of our beloved San Antonio. And I think that they're sadly mistaken.
Anybody else has to
absolutely.
rebuttal?
One thing that I can say when it comes to being in this race is we have shown different, pillars of character. I respect these guys for actually including me in certain things, not making snide comments. I think we're the youngest running, 31 here, and we hold our decorum to a certain standard that is, it can be embarrassing for the older candidate. So I respect these guys because they actually like, hey, do you need anything? Or vice versa. I'm like, hey, do you need anything? I dabble in everything. So I want people to pay attention who they're voting for. If pettiness and anything has come up in the play, like make sure that's something that you run in your household. So if you're petty and just throw snide comments everywhere, absolutely vote for that person. But I think you need the public needs, the community needs somebody that actually shows those pillars of character, shows, trustworthiness, honesty, just very dependable. Like San Antonio, you got to wake up. Definitely have to wake up.
I mean, that scenario in particular bothers me because I would not have been afforded the same forgiveness.
Absolutely not. How could you?
Thank you.
I would have had to move out of the state.
Thank you. Our next topic is about equity and community engagement. We have a question here about Title IX, which the city of San Antonio has passed. This is for you, Mr. Reyes, which allows pretty much boys and transgender boys or transgender girls, which I think much less likely to happen in the other gender sports. So mainly the way it's happening that boys can play in girl sports. What would you do about Title IX and how will you change it?
Well, I don't think that girls should be in boys' sports and vice versa. I mean, we're built differently. If you have a boy who says he's a girl or whatever the case may be, playing in girl sports, especially a contact sport, they can do a lot of damage to that other individual. If it's agreed upon, like say martial arts, because my son's in martial arts and they're integrated. It's boys and girls. It's not specific. It's teaching self-defense and whatnot, and they go at it with boys and girls that fight, whatever. But that's an understanding between that organization and the parents that, hey, this is mixed. It's okay. It's a different thing when you're competing against the opposite gender for acolytes, whatever that may be, medals, whatnot. We're just built different. It's not a fair reasoning to say that if a guy can't hack it in a men's sport, he's going to transition to go in a women's sport and then dominate. Like, it doesn't make sense. It's not a good thing in any aspect, is what I believe.
Thank you. And next question is for Mr. Chris Herring, who is also another confirmed candidate. As you can see, we have 2 empty seats on the table, and he is at no show as well. Hope he's doing well. The question is, while schools may be under separate governance, how will you contribute to improve the quality of local education? So I'm going to volunteer you, Mr. Sanchez, to answer this question that came originally for Mr. Herring.
So how to improve public education?
Yes, sir.
Specifically, do they say kinder through 12 or university level?
Well, in particular, you got the pre-K for SA, which I know the city of San Antonio funds it, and it's only for 2,000 students, and you have 500 for each campus, and it's pretty much lottery and favoritism for little kids to get into that program, and who knows how they get there. And some of them are military children for military parents, and some are lottery, and some are
No. So I actually
have him please answer it first, and then you can rebuttal.
To
Go ahead,
to
Mr.
improve
Sanchez.
funding was the question, right? To improve funding?
Yes, to improve the quality of local education and the pre-K for SA in this contest that the city of San Antonio pays for. Should you eliminate that, or should we open it up to all kids of these of the pre-K ages?
Yeah. Look, when we think of why are there such constraints that exist within a system like that, and my nephew's a representation of the pre-K for SA system. When we think of why is there a lottery system or why is there anything, I mean, it just points out to one very real fact, right? It's the lack of participation from either funding side or enough teachers to supply that avenue, or bureaucratic movement. So for us to fix that kind of issue, we have to open the door to actually having more participation from an educator's end, from a curriculum standard, whether they go through an accreditation or not, community involvement from the corporations that exist within San Antonio. And I always draw this to the forefront because it's important to talk about. We have a lot of corporate participation in the city of San Antonio. When it comes to MLK Walk, when it comes to Pride Month, when it comes to all these other things, we see participation just go off the kazoo. But any other time of year, in my opinion, these corporations aren't participating in bettering our communities enough. And I think that that's where they need to step up. When we think of funding from a corporation into programs like that, if we care about our communities as much as we claim that we do, then we should be putting our dollars behind it. These corporations, I think, need to be held accountable. I think that they need to participate in that movement, because without everyone's help, it's not going to happen. You have constraints that we're seeing, obviously, within the budget, which is why it's a lottery system or that avenue. And the only way that kind of alleviates the city from having to deal with that is to have corporate involvement. And I think that needs to happen. And the only way that happens is instilling transparency within what actions, what meetings are happening behind closed doors. Why aren't these organizations being held accountable?
Thank you.
And
Ms. McCullough, go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's part of my campaign. Let's put businesses, because they're spending money on parties and everything, but what about their employees that have kids? Let's create a system where, a business does put in a separate account, funding to help their workers that have kids, pay their bills or pay their childcare bills in a sense. But however, when it comes to pre-K or K for SA or whatever it's
pre-K
called,
for SA.
pre-K for SA, to get in there, unfortunately, you have to be on food stamps, WIC, or something, and it helps parents whose child may have a disability.
I don't think it's so much that. I want to say that because I know my brother is not on any of those programs, but they were still able to.
That's majority when it comes to certain sides of town.
Okay.
So you have to qualify in some sort of realm for that, and then the kids can attend. Or if they have a disability, a speech impediment, something, they can qualify to go there because a therapist is provided there. So for a few families that I nurture and a few friends that have gone, that's how their child got into pre-K for SA.
Thank you.
If I may, real quick, because I think it's very important. We currently have 18% of our population living at or below poverty. We have 30% of our third graders reading below the national average. That is an indicator of their success in the future. So I think that as we consider the solution, I think we have to look at it holistically. So if I have 30% of my kids who are not reading at grade level, then I have to ask the question, what does that home environment look like? And then from there, we can then begin to address the issue holistically, as opposed to a one-off program that's teaching the child but not teaching the household that has the child. And so I do want to push back on the idea of mandating that corporate participation is somehow brought into the equation, because as a business owner, I find it hard that you're going to be able to make me pay for anything that is beyond the scope of what my business is. And so I want us to have a realistic expectation and not pie in the sky.
I got to rebuttal this. I believe in free markets. I don't believe that we don't, again, and I said this before, we don't live in a communist economy. We don't live in a communist country. I think that we can, I wouldn't say mandate is the term, but I think that we can apply some pressure, just as the Trump administration is applying pressure through tariff policy. I think at the city level, we could apply some pressure to these corporations to do the right thing. And I'm not saying that they're going to say, hey, all odds are against you, it's off the table. But I think that we do have to hold corporations accountable to take action.
I'm going to go.
But again, I'm free markets.
Yeah.
I believe that.
I get it. I just think that when government intervenes in how a business functions without participating in the failures or the downside, I think it's extremely dangerous. And there has to be a fine line as to what our expectations are in the interface between corporate and private interaction.
No, I think that when I say giving into a family or a person that has child or needs childcare, it's more of, you're helping that person. It's a tax write-off. You can definitely, it's a gift. You're giving somebody funds to pay for their childcare as well as obtaining a substantial worker. So nobody's going to play with their childcare when it comes down to it. If you're helping them pay for something that they need, nobody's going to play with that and lose that potentially. So I think just having that, not making it mandate, not mandatory, none of that, just making it as an option to benefit an employee.
I want to be clear that
we gotta move on to the next subject.
All right, I don't want to be looking at like a socialist. I don't agree with our municipality telling the corporation what to do. I think the enforceability would be what kind of back deals are happening, right? If we understand that these back deals are happening, then we're going to cut that. We're going to cut that off, and the corporation could do whatever they want to try to fix their issue, but they're not going to get any backdoor deals.
Okay, thank you. Next question to Mr. Reyes. So I pulled this crime statistics summary this morning, and it's from the City of San Antonio website. And it's showing here in 2024, there was 52 prostitution offense. And in 2025, up to date, there is 46, which is significant increase. We have 40% increase according to this. What would you do to control these offenses within the city of San Antonio?
Well, first, I would back our police officers and not throw them under the bus every time they made a move. That would help. So you don't subvert their authority. I would ensure that we apply pressure to the DA that they actually do their job and stop letting people off the hook every 5 seconds because they say they're backlogged. I mean, that's ridiculous. It's insane. Until the people of San Antonio, the criminal element of San Antonio, realizes that we have a local government that's not playing around, they're going to continue to do these things. They're going to continue to engage in prostitution, in petty theft, in break-ins of vehicles in neighborhoods. You've got gang members, if they are, I mean, who knows at this point, shooting each other up. There was one in the an article the other day where they shot up a car. The guy walked up and looked in there and said, "Oh, you're not the right guy. I'm sorry," and ran off. Like, it's insane. Like, it's nonsense. This stuff should not happen. So I think that we need to apply significant pressure to our DA, to our police officers, and it's not our average police officers that's doing the work. It's the bureaucracy of the police officers, the police chief, and all those at the top who want to make political moves by not engaging in going after the criminal element because they're going to look bad. I mean, we just saw the city council talked with him, and they were talking about stopping policing, that we need to get rid of more police officers. It's insanity.
Okay.
Well, let me say something. I think prostitution is a victimless crime, right? Like, I think that it's not a violent crime. I think we should be focused on, I mean, prostitution is a profession as old as time, right? And so I think that one of the things that we need to be focused on are the ones that are violent crimes. And so we currently have 40%
Well, here is
of
my
our
next
violent
question
crimes
to you
coming
about
from
that.
ages 25 and below.
Same question from the same statistics this morning. Drug and narcotic offenses, 761 in January of 2024, and we have 845 in 2025. So that's also another significant increase in drug and narcotic offenses. What would you do to get that under control?
Well, real quick before he answers that, I want to rebuttal that prostitution one because it's not a victimless crime by any means. So if they're consenting adults, that's one thing.
That's all I'm talking about.
But in San Antonio, we have a huge problem with human trafficking, a huge problem.
That wasn't
so
the
we don't
question,
know,
Mr.
but it
Reyes.
doesn't matter. We don't know what ages these individuals are that are engaging in prostitution.
I get it. I got to approach it from the standpoint of how it was presented.
But even even if we approach it in that manner, these women or whoever's engaging in prostitution, there's no way to know for sure if that individual is doing it by choice or if they're under a pimp or they're under pressure from other aspects. So in no way is it a victimless crime unless it's an actual business that's authorized through laws, through the city and whatnot. And we don't have that here.
So my only point is that if it is an engagement between two adults, what they choose to do is between them. I want to focus on the violent crimes that are taking place, and if it's human trafficking, that's a completely different discussion, and it goes further than the actual transaction on the street. It goes into how we're bringing these individuals to our city. So I want to be clear. I think that when we look at some of the operations that have taken place, sometimes we put our focus in the wrong arena, and that was only my only point. But it's the profession as old as time.
Okay, our next topic.
Wait, he didn't cover.
So you asked me what would I do?
Yeah, the drug thing.
Right now we are 300 officers short, and we currently have 40% of our active duty officers no longer engaged because they are sitting on the sidelines. So I think in order for us to be intentional about what we want to achieve as a city, as the 7th largest city in the nation, we need to ramp up our police force to be equipped to support the 7th largest city in the nation. And currently that means that we need to up our staffing by 300, and that includes materials as well as all of the support that they need by way of gear and everything else.
Could I add to that? Not a rebuttal, but it's kind of a rebuttal with an addition.
Go ahead.
I think it's important to recognize that poverty breeds criminal, right? When it comes to crime, it's bred by poverty. So it should be, honestly, if you look at the data, maybe they're pointing something, but I think it's worse. When you have an economy or a local municipality that's been dealing with 18%, 20% poverty for the past, let's say, 40 years, then you have to believe that there is far more worse statistics than what they're pointing at. And I think that needs to be recognized. The only way that we change this is, yes, I'm piggyback with what Melvin just said, is we do have to reinforce our law enforcement, but we also have to deal with the economic issue. That's the only way that we come out of this. If we could breed a better economy, then at the end of that day, we're going to be able to lower the statistics when it comes to crime. And without that perspective in place, then we're walking on a hamster wheel. We're not doing what's required to fix the real issue.
I don't think y'all understand how deep this actually runs, because I did a study. I had a friend that dabbled in, escorting. And I was curious. I was like, well, how are you getting this much money? But she went off the deep end. Anyways, but I actually did some, and it's not poverty.
You're talking about okay, hold on.
Hold on, real quick.
Are you talking about the prostitution part or the drugs and
both
criminality?
Both.
Okay.
So it actually
crime.
ties hand in hand when it
agree.
comes to prostitution and drugs.
I agree.
So, and it's not poverty. Shockingly, most of the people that indulge in that activity, they're wealthy, super wealthy.
How do they build their wealth?
Who knows? I don't know.
Well,
But that's the thing, because some of it is mostly tied into the north side of San Antonio, and
that's where they make the money.
Exactly. So it's not poverty at all, because most of the prostitutes that are out there and the escorts that are out there, they come from the north side that are well off. They want to get more money. They want to, and I get it. Like their parents are good. Their parents are wealthy. But I'm telling you, because I actually went into and did a lot of study. I didn't partake in nothing.
Did you publish your study anywhere?
Absolutely not. Because I, as a Black woman, I cannot do that because they're going to think that I'm doing something I'm not supposed to do. So I have to be, while I'm running for mayor, I have to be very...
Seems like very legitimate study
to
be made.
Absolutely. But I have to be careful how I present myself to the public because no matter what, a lot of people are going to judge me 10 times more than these guys. A lot of people are going to put me on this low pedestal because they don't think I'm adequate enough to do what I do.
I need to point something out that you mentioned. Look, I know some of these girls that have gone the route of going the escort route, and they come from very wealthy families. I went to Clark High School. It's not just because their parents have money doesn't mean that they have money. And I've seen some savage parents out there that have cut their daughters off because of actions that they've either taken, throughout their adult life. And so I don't believe in the stat that, it's not poverty. Yeah, it is, because a lot of those girls are still living paycheck to paycheck. And you have to make a decision, right? You have to make a decision. When you're living in poverty or paycheck to paycheck, you have to make a decision. Do I work here or do I work here and make this much more money? It's why we saw the boom of OnlyFans. It's why we saw the whole movement of that. So I just want to point that out, right? You said it's people with money. It's not. It's not. Just because your parents have money.
It's greed.
Guys, we got to move to our next subject. Mr. Sanchez,
we can get into this.
This is right down your alley right here.
Yeah.
We have an unrealized capital gain tax in San Antonio that's called property tax.
I'm not a tax attorney. Just kidding.
It's called property tax. So if we bought our house 30 years ago for $100,000, today is $1 million evaluated by the county and by the city of San Antonio.
Yeah.
And they're taxing us every year on $1 million, and next year will be 1.1 and so forth. What would you do to cut this unrealized property gain tax, which basically you don't make any money by living in a house, and now your house is tenfold what you bought it 30 years ago, but you're paying tax on that much money, and some neighborhoods are going through gentrification.
Yeah, that's that's the free markets working against you, and that's the city just taking advantage of that idea, right? If they could evaluate and they say, hey, it's 10% more of what it was before because they built the Pearl within the 2 blocks from you, then the city's going to take advantage of that. Why? Because it's their tax revenue. We need to begin to, I think, dissect that pretty hard and figure out how we can allow free markets to continue to run, but where we could limit that expense to those who can't afford it. I think financial education in the broad sense is very important in our city, right? Because even though that it is an unrealized gain within your home, but you could still pull that equity out. And what I tell everyone is if you have equity in your home and you know that if you can, for the next 10 years, put that into an investment vehicle that's going to exceed, let's say, the 2% inflation rate. If the market's giving you 13% at the S&P and inflation's giving you 2% and you know it's not serving your best interest to keep your equity within your home, then let's talk about let's educate the public about pulling that equity out, investing for the long term, and changing the trajectory of your family's generational poverty issue. That's not happening enough at the forefront. As a city, I think we need to advocate for more financial literacy. And again, this problem is multifold, but it has to be acknowledged for what it is.
Thank you. Mr. Melvin, how would you ensure accountability and transparency within the law enforcement?
Well, I think you have to have a community oversight committee. I think that you have to invite the community to the table so that they can participate in those discussions. I think you can't have the wolf watching the hen house. And what I mean by that is that you can't self-monitor. And so I think that one of the ways that you're able to bring a level of transparency is allowing for the community to participate and have a say in how we treat those misdeeds.
Thank you. And Ms. McCullough, on the city website, there is an LGBTQ police liaison, and I didn't see any other group such as Catholics, Muslims, Jews, that they have similar type of liaison within the police department. What will you do to change that? Would you cancel the LGBTQ plus liaison, or would you add liaisons? Now we're going to have 10 of them for every minority group and majority group in San Antonio.
That's a touchy one. Great. No, I think that we have people that advocate for the need of what the public feels. So the LGBTQIA plus community does feel like they need a liaison to advocate for them. However, it ties into not being heard enough. So if we have communities that don't feel heard enough, of course we need a lot of people that can advocate for them. But if I'm not, great question. But I personally would have somebody that speaks for anybody that does need to be spoken for in the community to speak out and reach out to see what I can do to help them. I feel as though for our LGBTQIA plus community, they're not heard enough, or they feel discriminated against because of how they perceive life. And so I don't mind how anybody chooses to live life. I really don't, because it's their life to live. I can't tell them what to do.
But the question is, why do they have a liaison and other minority groups don't have a liaison within the police department in San Antonio?
They're organized. No, I'm kidding. I'm not too sure, honestly. Depending on the group, if they are feeling strongly enough that they need that liaison, then by all means. But,
go ahead, Mr. Melvin.
Go ahead.
So I attended law school at Michigan State. I am a believer in the black letter of the law. And if our officers are engaged in the practice of policing, if our officers are practicing the laws that they have been taught, it applies to everybody. There is no need for special treatment. There is no need. There may be an education program or something that they send the officers to, sensitivity training, or how do you deal with various communities. But there definitely does not need to be specialized liaisons, because as you have adequately pointed out, when do you draw the line? And at what point do you start to cater to one side versus the other? And how can you expect the police force to now go around and try to understand who and what training they're supposed to apply on each and every police stop? I think our officers need to be let go and allowed to police, and we need to get them out of the spaces that do not require police officers, such as engaging the homeless, such as, looking at basic interactions downtown San Antonio. So we just need to be careful as we approach these subjects that begin to provide specialized treatment, especially when we're looking at our police force.
Thank you. Mr. Reyes, question to you. Do you believe policemen are currently underpaid and overworked? And would you add more policemen to the task force in San Antonio, to SAPD?
So I would add more police officers. As far as being underpaid, to me, that's an individual thing. From my understanding, they get paid pretty well. They have a program where, I don't know if I'm supposed to talk about it, but anyway, basically, there's a thing where they
won't tell anybody.
They have
not while being live,
they have
right?
a system that basically they're asking for police officers for events, for security, things like that they can do in their off time, and they can apply for, and they can do, and they get paid based off of those. So basically, it's like a job board that they can go look for in addition to what they're already doing. Now, if they choose to do that or not because they feel they're underpaid or they feel they're overpaid, whatever the case may be, it's their choice. From my understanding right now, they're getting paid a decent amount for the job that they're doing. Could they get paid more? I mean, sure,
What is the
everybody wants to
starting
get
salary
more.
of a police officer here?
I think it's around 50, 55,
It's
something
between
like that.
50 and 75.
Yeah, something like that. That's pretty decent. That's at the high end of the average of San Antonio. So they make a good amount.
Not including overtime.
Exactly, the overtime and things like that. Are they overworked? 100% they're overworked. I mean, Robert just said we're 300 short. So yeah, they're definitely overworked. I would focus on adding more police officers to San Antonio. The recruitment, I think, is a major issue. I don't know if you know, but I've seen videos where they fly people out to California to recruit out of San Francisco, out of Los Angeles, out of all these other places. I had no idea that they were doing that. I thought we recruit internally,
yeah.
but apparently they travel outside. Could that be an issue? Is it an issue? I don't know for sure, but we'd have to reevaluate the budget and see if that's something that's viable. If they're going to these places and we're recruiting like good recruits that are maintaining and staying here, then we'd have to evaluate that. But I think as of right now, they're overworked. We need more police officers. They get paid good enough at this. Well, I don't want to say good enough. They get paid a really good wage. And I think that's attractive enough to get more recruits. We just have to have quality recruits.
Mr. Sanchez,
I want to draw
rebuttal.
attention. I like your perspective, Chris, but I want to draw attention to this. This is the importance of when I met with SAPOA. This is the importance of collective bargaining within these groups. I have full disclosure. I have a lot of friends and family in law enforcement in the city, and when I think of what they get paid and then for what they're doing or what they're dealing with, I think it's difficult to say that they are earning the wage that they deserve. I think these guys are putting their lives on the line. And when it comes to what we're seeing in terms of making a true living off of it, you could probably make more money working as a manager at Bill Miller's. And that's kind of the reality of it, is we have to put into perspective, what exactly are these officers doing when they go out to the field? Are these officers in there just for a job, or is it because they actually care about their community? And when someone cares about their community, they're putting their life on the line. And again, it's important to be able to collective bargain as police officers do. And then second is they have to earn a livable wage. And that livable wage, like Chris said, it's dependent on the person. But whenever you could equate that livable wage to something like a job where you have a management role at a restaurant, then I think it needs to be evaluated a little closer.
I would just want to rebuttal to that, because I joined the military. I didn't join the military for money, because it's not a way to get rich at all. You do have a lot of benefits, 100%. But I think that, and I'm not saying we need to militarize our police, but I think it's the same notion along the same line. You're not doing it for a paycheck. You're doing it because you want to serve your community.
I agree.
So I think that at a $50,000 entry level pay job, that's a pretty good job that you can get right now. And especially if you're doing it because you want to serve your community. Now, if they were getting paid $20,000, $25,000, $30,000, of course, I would say they need to get a raise. Collective bargaining, yes, it's a tool that they use in order to push their raises up. But at some point, just like everything else, we have to have a line, because we don't have infinite pockets. We don't have infinite funding for these things. There's a structure, just like the military. You start off at one angle, getting paid something, and as you progress, your pay goes up. And I think that it's good enough at this point, only, like I said, because they're allowed to take overtime. They're allowed to take external jobs as necessary from their board, which it's unlimited for that. There's always jobs extra for them. So I know, and I hope I don't sounding like I'm against the police officers.
No,
I'm not.
you're against them.
My brother-in-law is a police officer. I have a bunch of family members. But I think that at this point where we're sitting at the city, it's a significant wage, and it's good at this point. Now, should we flourish and become a truly number 7 in the United States economy-wise, then yeah, of course, let's increase their pay and whatnot. But I think at this point right now that it's at a level that we can sustain.
Okay. Mr. Melvin.
Well, real quick, because I want to make sure that when we think of salaries, it has to be, you have to take into consideration their abilities to purchase a home,
Yes.
have a family, and do all of these things absent being able to or having to take on secondary and third shifts and jobs. So I think that there is an opportunity for us to revisit their paid salary based on the national average and how we can ensure that their quality of life is met at that standard. And I don't know that 50 grand is sufficient.
Yeah,
but
we have to look, like you said, we have to look at one national average, but we have to look at how much have home prices, like we just talked about, have increased in the past 5 years in comparison to wages.
Well,
right?
that's my
rising
next-
rising cost and stagnation of wages creates an inflationary environment.
Yeah.
If you ask me, we're in a far worse inflationary environment in San Antonio than in any other Texas metropolitan city, specifically because wages are lagged.
And I don't disagree. I agree with what you're saying, but I feel like at this point that we are now, if one of us were to get into office, we have to maintain what we currently have until we can reevaluate taxes.
100%.
And once we make those moves, then there's an opportunity.
That's what the
for those
budget-
things. That's exactly what I think. Yeah.
I don't know if I agree with that completely because this is why we trim the fat off of the budget. We have projects like $15 million building a heritage site. $15 million, right? And yeah, there are protections against using some of those funds for critical services, but that needs to be reevaluated. We could cut from the budget to meet that demand in the first 10 days.
Yeah.
That's not an issue. The issue is that we need to cut. We need to cut wherever these projects don't make sense.
Absolutely.
And I know you talked about it. You talk about it a lot. So I just want that to be known.
Mr. Melvin, next question is for you. The housing cost in San Antonio has increased significantly due to the immigration from different states that has a lot higher housing cost. People cash in on selling their homes in there and come in to buy homes in San Antonio that they were much cheaper. But nevertheless, homes in San Antonio got to be a lot more expensive now because people overbidding, and for somebody coming from a different state, looking at a nice house in San Antonio, to them it's very cheap. To the locals in San Antonio, with the local wages, it's very expensive house. And now we have a problem where the local residents of San Antonio, many cannot afford to buy a house in San Antonio due to the increase. What will you do to get the housing cost lower in San Antonio for people to be able to afford houses again?
So I think it's important for us to look at how we got here. And if we look at the history of the housing market, the trends, the creation of neighborhoods, super neighborhoods, every house is on a quarter-acre lot. What we've done is we've created more and more separation from one another, and we have gone into a price per square foot where your starter home is somewhere around 3,000, 3,500 square feet. I'm the youngest of 7, and I grew up in a house maybe 1,200 square feet, maybe 3-bedroom, 3-bath. And so I think we have to reevaluate, what does a home look like? What does a starter home look like? 3,000 square feet for a new family, I just don't think that is not realistic, but that has become the expectation. So I think we have to go back into a development style that supports the advancement of community through a rethinking of placement of essential services in relationship to our homes, the reduction of square footages when we think of what does a starter home look like. Well, my wife and I moved here. We lived in a 1,200 square foot home, 2-bedroom, 2-bath. It was more than enough space for us when we initially started. Then our family grew. And then we began to, grow our home as our family grew. So I think we have to rethink how we are looking at a starter home, square footages, and get back to a way of life that is more centered around the village lifestyle versus the McMansions.
Okay, add rebuttal to this?
Yes, sir.
You're asking a question that deals with specifically how to obstruct market forces, which is impossible. You can't really lower the cost of housing through city action. What do you expect to do? Tell developers like, no, you're not going to make a profit. The developer's going to give you the middle finger and say, no, this is my profit-making business. So the perspective that we have to come back to is, again, instilling economic change. That's the only way that we fix San Antonio. What do I mean by instilling economic change? Is providing jobs, providing industry that provides jobs with higher wages is one. Now, we know that senior citizens are met with the demands of rising costs, but they are capped, whether it's through Social Security income. Most families we understand in San Antonio that don't actually have 401k or IRAs to tap into. So that is our obligation as city municipality government to fill that gap in for those seniors. And I know that's kind of that's an approach that people are like, well, you're advocating to use city dollars for individuals. It's not just individuals. These people can't work at the capacity that they used to work at. And we have to, through that growth or gentrification process, we have to meet those gaps in order for us to grow effectively and efficiently. And I think that's the only way that we do it.
Well, being in the real estate since 2002, I know the city has programs where they hand out down payment assistance money to people, first-time home buyer or other categories who qualify. So in your opinion, is this something that the city should continue doing, or should we just cut that off because it doesn't encourage people to buy houses as getting the economy in the right direction?
In an economy where we're at 18 to 20% poverty, I don't think that it's conducive to cut that programming out. I think that cutting that program out would be detrimental to an economy like our own. Now, I will say that program does deserve some microscopic look, right? Who's actually getting vetted? What are the provisions to get approved? And the people that are getting approved, do they truly need it? When I think of people that need to be approved for that is seniors, for one, right? If a senior can't work at capacity X of what they were 10, 20 years ago, then cutting a program like that would be detrimental to that senior being able to afford a home. Now, when you look at a young person like myself or anyone, under the age of 40, would it make sense to fund them? Well, that takes a closer look. What type of work environment are they in? Are they maximized? Have they tried to better their education to reach certain parameters to get a better opportunity? We have to look at that a little more stringently. I don't believe in just giving people free money, to answer your question. But I do think that cutting programs like that could be detrimental in an 18% poverty environment.
I want to tie into what you said earlier. Is actually making sure that they get the right resources that they need, as well as making sure that they understand, how it is to get out of that generational poverty level. So making sure that we push, if we're going to push, helping somebody cover their, finances when it comes to getting into those properties, we'll make sure that they are adequately trained in, getting themselves out of debt, getting themselves into knowing how to maintain that property, as well as, breaking that generational curse. So
holistic approach to a financial illiteracy problem.
Yeah, exactly.
I agree.
So,
Okay, fantastic. Our next topic, we're going to move to education. Okay, so we have a viewer question on Facebook. What's your plan to create opportunities for our youth so they don't have to leave the city to succeed?
I'll take this.
Mr. Melvin.
Oh, darn it.
You can rebuttal.
Yeah, you can jump on. Well, first off, I think it's important for us to create pathways to careers. And so that means that we're looking at education from a different optic. And that is, what is the end goal, right? What is at the right side of the equal sign? And when we consider that, and on the right side of the equal sign would be a job that allows for you to provide for you and your family. Then when we go to the equation, it becomes, how do we create pathways for individuals to be able to obtain transferable skill sets? And that may not be through a traditional educational system. We frown upon the trades. But in all of my developments, I could not have done it if I didn't have a plumbing team, if I didn't have a mechanical team, HVAC, or electricity. So I think that what has been stigmatized in the past has now become a great need currently. So I think it's important for us to look at the needs of San Antonio and then think backwards as to how do we train up our kids and our education systems to be able to provide an asset, which would be the child, that can fulfill those needs and obligations as we are a growing city.
Thank you.
So one thing that I have noticed is we don't pour back into our youth anymore. So back when my sister, in like 2009, my sister, she was dabbling in trouble. And so what they used to do is have the Scared Straight program. Well, that program actually created more officers and more people that wanted to help the community because they're like, man, these people are actually paying attention to me. Yeah, I'm doing what I'm not supposed to be doing, but they're showing me that I can do better. And so from that program, I believe at least it was 10 children, but at least 4 of them went to become, POs or police officers. So I think having those programs brought back to show kids like, knock it off, or this is where you're going to end up. However, we have people that are actively trying to help the community to achieve better, showing them, having businesses tap in like, hey, we have a program for the youth or something of the sort to give back to the children like, hey, we can work our way up to this, but we have to start somewhere. So making sure that we have that volunteer area for the kids to indulge in, I think definitely would help our community a lot more.
Thank you. Next question, Mr. Reyes, to you. On the subject of healthcare, we all know that abortion is illegal in Texas. Nonetheless, the City Council of San Antonio recently has approved by 6-5 margin, with the tiebreaker being Mayor Ron Nirenberg himself. So there is a productive justice fund, which basically allows girls to travel outside of state lines and get abortion. What will you do about that? Will you keep it in place, or would you repel that program?
I would repel that immediately. I don't think tax dollars play a function in how the city or individuals decide they want to live their lives through abortions, not abortions, or whatnot. I don't believe that there's a good enough argument to sustain taxpayer dollars for those things. I don't think it's right. Our money is supposed to be going to fixing the issues in the city. That's a personal issue. That's
well,
how
it's blankly breaking the state law.
Well, that too, yes.
Which contradicts with this.
100%. And the argument there for the opposite side is that it's healthcare and they need it. I feel like that's a shield that side likes to hide behind a lot, because a lot of the times these individuals made those choices and they should be the ones to do what they think is right on their own end. It shouldn't involve the city as a whole, because if that's the case and they're doing things, they're intentionally creating that fund that goes against the state law, what other things are we going to start doing that goes against the law because we deem that they're necessary or they're good enough? I don't think it's right. I think city dollars deserve to be spent on the city issues, roads, infrastructure, bringing our community up as a whole rather than funding out-of-state abortions. The other aspect to that is a major question that gets thrown out, and the city council likes to say that the minority community has less of a lifespan than the community in the north side, the northwest side, because of poverty, that they're 20 years less likely to survive than someone up there. Well, you're already cutting off that community by providing abortions, because most of the people going to get those abortions are from minority communities. So in which way does it make sense that we're going to fund abortions and then cry about they don't survive long enough? You're cutting them off before they have an opportunity.
Well, I want to rebuttal because I actually I'm not a victim, but I'm an overcomer of somebody, taking what doesn't belong to them. And if I would have had a child from those instances, of course, I would have definitely not wanted to carry it full term. However, I don't support sending somebody out because they had a free willy-nilly night and just, took advantage of not protecting themselves. Absolutely not. Let's not do that. However, if there's a police report and investigation, I definitely think that we should, have funds to cover that if there's, an investigation. But for somebody just having a wild night on 6th Street or on the Strip downtown, definitely not, because they should have taken those precautions. Birth control is out there. There's a lot of things to prevent that, when it comes to guys, vasectomies, or, for people that don't have children, they can tie their tubes early. There are certain things that we can have done to prevent children from being born.
Will you support the city paying for these precautions?
No, not unless there's an investigation and it was deemed adequate.
No, the precautions you just mentioned as pills or vasectomies. Or
yeah,
will you support
definitely,
the city
because
fund somebody that wants to get vasectomy, for example.
Because I believe that they're going to be
it?
responsible. Absolutely. You're being responsible and making sure that you do what you can to not make those mistakes.
So if you're elected as a mayor, men can have free vasectomies, as I understand now.
Yeah. If that's a path that they want to go down, absolutely. That's their choice.
What about cancer treatment?
It definitely should be free. I had cancer as well. So I had to pay a lot. I lost a lot in this world. So.
My point was simply that it's a slippery slope, and that the city of San Antonio has no business in engaging in medical treatment of any kind.
But we should have advocates, I feel. Definitely. Advocates. So somebody that's advocating for what's happening out there.
Yeah, an advocate, no doubt. But you can't expend city dollars for private medical treatment. I think that there's a number of programs that exist for education and otherwise, but the city of San Antonio politicized this as a result of what took place in Washington. And in the last, because it was Ron's last term, he became very vocal in his opinion with respect to how the city could combat it. And I don't agree with it. I think it's illegal, and I think it is a slippery slope, because how do you pick and choose which conditions are going to be paid by the taxpayer versus not?
Mr. Sanchez, next question is to you. How will you ensure underrepresented communities having a voice in your administration?
I mean, you're looking at an immigrant, like
underrepresented communities in general. So it can be any minority group in this instance.
Yeah, what I'm saying is that how do you ensure that? I mean, you instill conversation, you further narratives, but in terms of what type of actions as a city, let's put one example. I had a great meeting earlier. We call ourselves Military City. I met with Mike. Shout out to Mike Vasquez. We call ourselves Military City, but we don't have an annual festival for Veterans Day. What's the point in that, right? In my opinion, veterans are a minority here. Again, I say this from an immigrant perspective. Everyone in life, we have to fight our way to it on what we believe. It gets sticky when we begin to say, what type of actions is city leadership going to take? Well, it takes first and foremost having roundtable conversations about those narratives. And then two, advocating for the people that are actually speaking up. If we care so much to speak up about what we don't like, then we can protest. We can sit in front of City Hall and hold our council members accountable through the media. There are different actions that we could take, but again, without community involvement, how do we understand that as city leaders, right? Just because I'm an immigrant doesn't mean that another individual understands what I went through. I'm not a veteran. I don't know what a veteran goes through. We need to have more community involvement. And that's really where it starts. It's instilling conversation, getting more community involvement, and then taking action.
Thank you.
Nobody's going to rebuttal me on that?
No, well, I mean, I wouldn't say. I think there's already avenues built into the system for that. I mean, if they're saying, the underrepresented community, that's why we have district council people. They're supposed to go through that district council person, and if they're not doing what they need to through that district council person, then we'd have to look at, okay, so is the system designed for, if your first avenue is not working out, is there another way where you can go beyond that individual? And that would be
Protest
to the
in
mayor,
front of City Hall.
protest,
Yeah.
or, get into
Vote them
meetings
out.
like that. Exactly.
Getting your community involved to vote them out?
Yeah, so I think that's, a lot of the times people may feel that way, but are they taking the action needed in order to alleviate those things? So approach your councilman first. If they're not acting accordingly, then, protest, bring it on the docket, see if there's a way to talk to the mayor. Because again, the mayor is not going to be able to, or should not be able to just say, hey, District 1, you're going to do this, because that's not how it's designed. We can apply pressure, we can bring it to the forefront, but there's avenues already established for that.
Okay, next question is to you, Mr. Reyes. Would you support zoning reform to allow more multifamily and mixed-use developments? Why or why not?
So I'm not in real estate. This is probably more Robert. I'm sorry.
He can rebuttal.
But for me, I'm a data guy. I'd have to dive into the data and look at it and see what the data's saying, what the market's saying, and then refer to an expert like Robert about what way we should approach that, because I'm not versed in that. That's not my expertise.
Okay. And
So absolutely, I think that there are mixed use development profiles that have been deployed all over the country, and I think that in order for us to be able to grow as a city, we have to consider mixed use developments with ground floor retail that support not just the residents but the people of San Antonio collectively.
Okay, thank you.
Let's think about demand. I want to
Sanchez?
put into this conversation because I think it's important, but we have to look at demand. Is there a demand for it? If there's a demand for it, then maybe we should respond as city leaders. But unless there's a demand for it, why are we going to funnel money into something that's not going to give us a return on investment?
Okay.
Because it looks cool?
Very
Crap that
cool.
we've been putting up for the past 8 years.
Thank you. So my final question here before we move to the conclusion part, and this is open for all of you to answer the question. How will you plan to improve the international travel to SAT airport? What would you do to improve the airport in San Antonio, pretty much?
Oh yeah, for me, it's a no-brainer. I would look at other areas to develop, because I think that the area that's currently serving as a San Antonio airport, I think we're going to outgrow that. Well, we should outgrow it based off of just our city population alone and the amount of commerce and things we want coming in and out of there. It's not going to sustain a large enough airport for the type of city we are. So I think that going forward, we need to look at other areas and potentially have a split airport, because it's possible. Have one where it is now and look for another area of development in another part of the city that could flourish from that building of an airport and bring more businesses in that area. So that's something that I would think that we should do moving forward. Again, it's not my choice. I can't just say, hey guys, we're going to do this now, because that's not how it works. But I would bring that idea to the forefront, and hopefully, that could be an avenue we could go to.
So it's the security issue, unfortunately. So when somebody comes into town, they rent a car, and then the hotels are just the main targeted areas. The hotels, everything is the main targeted areas when somebody comes in. So just making sure that we have security, or the hotels. Well, how can a mayor tell a hotel you need to bump up your security? We can't do that, essentially. But I do know that we have a lot of private hangars here in San Antonio, which is the crazy part, because I wanted an airplane. But it's just making sure that we are doing what our economy wants us to do, making sure that we have those businesses that can, adapt to the growth that we have here in San Antonio. So, yeah.
Is this a question for everyone, or is
Yeah.
it just
Everyone can answer.
Yeah, I'm going to piggyback with Chris's perspective. We need to look elsewhere to build. Kelly Air Force Base is probably has tracks that we could start to think about building there. We know the demand is there. We know that companies are looking at Texas as hub for opportunity movement. We've seen that with the Texas Stock Exchange going to Dallas. We've seen it with the boom of Austin in the past 20 years. San Antonio is primed for the next growth opportunity. And if we're not having those conversations now, then we should have had it 10 years ago. So we need to look at places that have the infrastructure there readily available, and then instilling conversation through the actual innovators in those groups. And those are your American Airlines, your Southwestern, your United Airlines. You have companies all across the United States that focus on building pathways to successful business travel, and we're not tapping them in enough because we're too small-mind thinking.
Thank you.
I believe that we need to create an airport authority. I think it needs to be completely independent of the city. I think we should have oversight, but you should have a team of airport or airline executives and professionals that are familiar with how to scale and grow airports, that may determine that it is more advantageous to open additional flights going into different areas. But I think the way that we are currently situated, the city of San Antonio has an employee that is overseeing the construction and growth of our current airport, which there's a severe limitation in that arena. So I would create an independent airport authority, and the city of San Antonio would have oversight.
Okay, thank you. And I have two questions, actually. One is for Clayton Perry and one for Chris Herring, which both of them are not here with us today. They didn't show up to this roundtable discussion. Would any of you guys like to answer? They're both in the economic development sphere.
Yeah, throw them out. Let's see.
Okay. So the question that was for Clayton Perry: what improvements are most urgent to our roads, bridges, and public transportation at this time?
You say that question one more time.
What improvements are most urgent to our roads, bridges, and public transportation?
All of them. Our bridges were recently determined that half of our bridges are failing as a result of just lack of care. We know that our transportation infrastructure is terrible. We have buses that are driving around empty. We have people that are unable to utilize or rely on our mass transit via support as a result of it not being timely. As far as our roads, we have roads that have been under construction for the last 3 years, which have cut off portions of our city from hospitals, from urgent care, from essential services. So I don't know the nature of the question, but we have a severe issue.
Do you think the VIA buses, the big buses, are redundant, since people these days, they like to go into smaller, faster vehicles
like Uber?
Exactly.
So I think what we are seeing with VIA is that they are successful at procuring grants. They get a tremendous amount of money from the Federal Transportation Agency, and then they have to spend it. And when that has to happen, you get those big parking rides like you see at 281
which
north of
nobody's
1604
using,
because no one out that
mostly
far,
empty.
They're not taking the bus. So I think that we've seen a devoid of leadership and forethought when it comes to how we treat our mass transit.
Okay, thank you.
So yes, everything that you've stated is a must and is dire.
I think it definitely is a must. However, if we cut via, I know my car went out in December, so I had to, catch some of those rides. So it's there for the community that needs to get where they need to go. However, it has, diminished when it comes to the timely portion. Used to be every 30 minutes. Now it's every hour and a half. And I was late to a meeting. But we definitely need to make sure that they indulge more into, I wouldn't say building more buses. We don't need buses. However, we don't need the green line, silver line, red line, blue line. We don't need that because that's essentially telling San Antonio, hey, we're going to rip up your streets in order to build a train system that only goes certain distance. So we definitely don't need that as a city because we can't even finish what we have now. And so when it comes to our roads, we definitely need to finish what we start. I get it. We're growing substantially. However, it makes no sense if they keep laying down pavement, then ripping it up and then laying down more pavement, not properly, because my tires catch those little divots that potentially could have slammed me into the wall. But we need to make sure that we're doing things that we're supposed to be doing. Go to Houston. You can definitely see that Houston, they move a little better than we do, and they have less people. If I'm not, no, they have more. They have more? Okay. Well, it doesn't make sense that we have been working on our roads for a long period of time. However, they're finished. They don't work on them as frequently as we do, but yet they function better than we do. They have more people. Why are we functioning at the level we are?
Because we don't have enough competition.
Thank you. Next question, actually. It's not next question. It's question for Chris Herring. But I can bet that you would answer it, Mr. Sanchez. You would love to answer this question. So I'm going to ask it to you. What specific steps will you take to attract and retain local businesses to our city?
Yeah, simple enough. You tap into the demands that these companies need. Companies have one thing. Companies one thing in perspective. It's shareholder return. So they're trying to find opportunities throughout the United States on where they could really capitalize on providing shareholder return. As city leaders, our fiduciary duty is to our citizens. And so we have to be able to have those conversations to meet these corporations' demand, but also supply what we need. And it's very easily done. Roundtable conversations. You don't have to take trips to Paris against what Courage has preached on. You don't have to take $3,000 trips to Paris to do that. You basically just have to instill conversations, and that's basically attracting corporations to have conversations here on what their opportunity is to move to San Antonio. So second biggest by landmass, second biggest by population. That provides two outlets for these corporations to benefit from our workforce and from land opportunity. And we're not putting that at the forefront because whoever is in office and whoever's been in office for the past 20 years doesn't understand the fundamentals behind the economics of our city. And it's very easily done. If you could find what's valuable to them, then we can meet that demand because we have the supply.
Thank you. Anybody wants to rebuttal? Anybody has any?
Repeat the question, please.
The question is, go back to it. What is your plan, specific steps to take to attract and retain businesses in our city?
So I think currently we have a manufacturing corridor, the I-35 that runs all the way to Mexico. They're expanding upon that. I think that if we want to be more competitive, then we need to start building the infrastructure for those secondary, third, and fourth tier companies that support the auto industry to be able to come and establish a home here in Texas. If you compare San Antonio to Detroit, which was another major auto manufacturing city, what they were successful at doing is providing the infrastructure that was necessary for those entities to come and make Detroit a home because they had a ready-made facility that were going to utilize their services. So I think that there's a lot that can be done simply by ensuring that we have the economic environment that will produce fruit for those industries.
Okay. So finally, we got to the conclusion question or conclusion talk, let's call it. Each candidate will have 3 minutes to tell us the plan about the first 100 days. How would you define success in your administration if you are elected as a mayor? And what sets your vision apart from your opponents? In another word, why should we vote for you? We'll start with you, Mr. Reyes. 3 minutes.
So for me, it's my whole platform: transparency, accountability, and safety. The first, I hate this 100 days thing because there's a candidate that throws it out every single time. But in reality, yeah, it's not real. This is not a presidency. It's a mayoral election. A mayoral election where they have one vote, they have influence, but it's not a power structure to where the mayor calls the shots on everything. Let's be realistic. We need a team of the people in city council. So I would push on that real quick, that when you vote, make sure you vote in a team of city council representatives that are going to match up with your mayoral candidate so that you can actually get things done. But again, in the first part of my term, I want 100% transparency. So I would make a move to push for a third-party audit outside of the typical audit that the government has been getting, the local government, because they keep passing with flying colors, yet our debt continues to increase. They get pay raises when the city's falling apart. So I want a third-party audit, and success measured from me would be the transparency that comes from that. When we see that, we can start holding people accountable, and people that are not doing their jobs, they will be terminated 100% if I get in there. And I would look at getting rid of individuals that haven't been doing their job this whole time. And I'm not afraid to say it because I don't care about a political career moving forward. I would look into potentially removing the city manager. You heard that, city manager. Look at removing the chief of police because he has not done a great job at all here. Look into figuring out how we move on early retirement of the DA, Joe Gonzalez. I would look into making sure that these people that are in leadership positions that have been failing the city for the last 10 plus years are removed, because no one is going to move forward with these same individuals in the position that they're holding, because we got here because of these individuals. So success to me is to change out those positions, and I think that would be a good step going forward.
Thank you. Mr. Sanchez?
Yeah. In my first 100 days, I'm kidding. It's very simple. Look, economic issue is at the forefront of what's wrong in San Antonio. First policy is to, in the first 5 days, is really bring an economic team, whether it's through university program here in the city or instilling our own, reaching out to the best economists, leading economists in the United States. But it's to have a team of economists who are actually measuring every district of San Antonio to make sure that we are getting the proper diversification and representation of productivity within those establishments. Productivity is the measure of not only stability in an economy, but growth. And so we have to grow as a city. We have to grow from every district. Or if we can't measure that, then we really can't make decisions as city leaders. So that's the first step. Second step is also instilling a chief cultural officer, which will have a team behind him or her. And that basically, chief cultural officer is there to protect small businesses. When I say culture, I mean small businesses, because that's who actually cares about our city, what instills the nostalgia of who we are as San Antonians. That needs to be protected. We can't let that get gentrified away with the growth from corporate involvement. Those two departments are pivotal to our growth for the next 100 days and the next 8 years of my 2 terms that I will serve. The third step, and this all happens within the first 5 days, the third step is actually a day one movement, is every council member, including the mayor, myself, we're going to sign an agreement of transparency. That agreement of transparency is not an agreement to try to prove that you didn't do anything right or wrong. That agreement is what it is. That transparency agreement means that if you enact in any type of meeting or relationship with any entity and you're not transparent, and there would be provisions for transparency, you just got to look up how the Securities Exchange Commission regulates the registered investment advisory world that I'm a participant and own a business in. You know that you could do a wrongdoing now And whether it's 2, 5, 10, 20 years from now, if they find that wrongdoing, you will still be held accountable up to prison time. That needs to be instilled in City Hall, because we have backdoor deals that happen, and that ultimately comes down to being a detriment to citizens. So a transparency agreement is probably what the leading force of all of those movements are. But it's measuring the economies of every district. It's measuring the productivity, and then instilling partnerships with universities. And that happens, I would say, in the first 12 months. Instilling partnerships with universities means that you have a private sector that begins to communicate with these universities to construct a curriculum that is going to be beneficial to keep our students in town, to keep our workforce, to continue to grow that workforce. And then the first year is actually instilling corporate involvement. And you do that through functions. If you pay attention to what South by Southwest's model does, or what Consensus does, and these are both opportunities that happen in Austin. Not sure why they don't happen here, because we have just as much opportunity for that. But South by Southwest is focused on instilling conversation in interactive film, entertainment, technology, in all sectors of the economy, finance. Consensus is specifically involved in instilling conversations about cryptocurrency and blockchain movement. We need to have those kind of conversations here at the Henry B. Gonzalez Center or at Alamo Dome, wherever it is, but we need to instill that to fuel the opportunity of what is at stake for San Antonio. And that it's not as complex as people think. The only reason that it hasn't happened is because the private sector has been well protected by the people who run this city. I know it well enough. I've been to dinner with all of these individuals. I've just decided to separate myself from them. Other candidates aren't separating themselves from them. They're gravitating towards acquiring their endorsements, to acquiring their support, and that's the wrong move for San Antonio citizens.
Okay. And finally, we'll start with you, ladies first. Ms. McCullough.
So same question.
Well, your plan for the first 100 days, how will you define success in your administration, and what sets you apart from the other candidates? Why should we vote for you?
So I'm keeping these guys on board. No, I'm kidding. No, so I have to go with Chris. I hate this question. The first 100 days, it's not like we can go in there and clean slate. We have things that have been put in place already, so we have to pay attention to what is on board already. So the thing that I would do is make sure that, I hate the backdoor deals, because I've actually, uncovered a lot in my campaign. So just making sure that, we're actually having those funds go to where they're supposed to go, making sure that we do an audit, because there's a hole somewhere that's leaking thousands or if not millions of funds. So we definitely need to have that audit done. I think we do need to tap into how we do our child care sector. State reached out to me and asked me if I could, reopen, but there's certain things that I want to make sure that we do. Even if I don't sit in that seat, I'm going to make sure that they get done when it comes to putting a baseline out there, making sure that families are not being overcharged, because they are. So I think dabbling in that, as well as, the affordable housing, making sure that we're holding the management companies accountable, as well as the tenants. You're signing a lease, you're signing a contract. We need to make sure that both sides are doing what they're supposed to be doing. So if you hold funds from a rental property, they have every right to kick you out. However, if the rental property you ask for something to get done, whether it's, in my case, clean sewage, we need you to clean that sewage rather than trying to charge me for living in sewage water. That's ridiculous. So definitely holding our, code compliance accountable, as well as the property managers accountable, and making sure we're maintaining before we build more affordable housing. It's going to be my job.
Mr. Melvin.
So I want us to be very clear. The mayor's is a weak mayoral system of government. There is no 100 days. So the idea that we're going to be able to go in and do anything, all we're going to do is we'll get sworn in, and then we'll wait until the next council meeting, at which point we set the agenda. But the role of council is quite different. They set the legislative agenda that is passed in Austin. The mayor is the interface between the city council and the city manager. The city manager is the one that would address a lot of the issues that we've kind of talked about today. We have an opportunity to address and represent the people of San Antonio, but it's very limited power. And so I think that when we look at the strategy of what we are going to do, it has to be one that is very thoughtful within the scope of what your power is. There is a candidate that has gone around talking about the first 100 days. I believe they think they're running for president. But the reality is that in understanding what our role is as the 11th vote on council, it's quite different than a lot of the verbiage that we use. So I think the first thing is understanding, one, where are our assets, where are our liabilities, and where are our exposures? And much like what Chris and Mao have stated, it is about getting a third-party audit to determine just how much we are hemorrhaging. And it's then and only then are we able to develop a plan that allows for us to move forward, not thinking about the next 5 years. I think that's one of the biggest issues that we have, is that whenever we engage in a project, we want to see that project completed within our lifetime, which is why we have crumbling systems throughout the city of San Antonio. We have to start thinking 75, 100 years ahead. Where is the industry going? How can we be more effective and competitive in the next 50 to 100 years? And only then will we be able to build a city that our grandkids or our great-grandkids can enjoy. I don't need to see a stadium built while I'm here. We've proven that we know how to build stadiums. So my first 100 days, I don't know how to answer that part, but it is about bringing a level of leadership to the table where we appreciate our small business community for the work and their impact on our community, and providing programs and resources that support them in a way that we've not historically. Creating an ecosystem where entrepreneurs know that they are welcomed here and that we will provide them the necessary support to help them grow. Identifying our gazelle companies. Those are those companies that have been around for 5 years or more with $1.5 million or more in annual revenue, how we can help them grow even more. So I think that there are a lot of limitations to the role, but if used correctly, it can be used as a wedge to create opportunity for future generations.
And why should we vote for you?
You should vote for me because I'm the only candidate that has actual experience in conducting work in this city. I've worked in the nonprofit sector successfully. I've also worked in the private sector successfully. I was one of the first investors in geekdom. We invested in Angel 7 Air Force ballistic eyewear. I invested in a company that did crowdfunding for real estate. So I've been in this city, and I've been investing and engaging in the business community for quite some time. So when I look at my experience compared to everyone else's, I'm still actively engaged in this community. I'm not waiting until I become mayor in order to be able to effectuate anything. I'm solving problems today.
Thank you. Anybody else has anything to add on why
y'all
we
didn't
should
ask me.
elect?
You didn't ask the last question to all of us.
I know.
It was
embedded in the same category,
can
but
answer
he
first,
forgot to say it, and that's what I reminded him.
me too,
It was
I forgot.
embedded, but go ahead. I have to give it fair opportunity for everyone here.
No, I think people should vote for me because I've been actively taking part of what the city does have to offer when it comes to small businesses, as well as just being a stand-up citizen. Like how I hold myself, I make sure that everybody around me is okay. I'm not a selfish person by no means. I make sure, like, just last month, I stopped in the middle of the highway to help a man that was stranded. Wasn't my job. I should have kept driving, but, I was like, what if that was my dad? So I literally stopped traffic on I-10 and helped push this man to the side of the road in heels. might I add. So, but I make sure that the community is good and people get the information that they need. I've had people reach out to me for, help with obtaining a place to stay for the night, to understanding their lease. That's what I'm advocating for, is making sure people understand their lease when they're signing it. So, or after they sign it too. So I think people should vote for me because I will point them in the right direction, if not offer them a solution. I'm an active problem solver. I help manage a lot of families in San Antonio currently that go through a lot. So I think I'm going to continue to do whether or not I sit in that seat, but we definitely need somebody that can stand up, whether it's in the city, in Austin, in Washington, D.C. We need somebody that can advocate and put their pride to the side.
Thank you. Mr. Sanchez.
Yeah. First and foremost, fiduciary responsibility is number one key to having the proper leader in there. As an investment manager, the past 12 years, there's no opportunity not to be a fiduciary in that space. So that's number one. Number two is economic perspective. I think that the city lost a big opportunity after 2008 to change the trajectory of our economy. And changing that trajectory would have gotten us out of this whole ordeal of finding affordable housing, not being able to maximize critical services or sewage issues. I think the candidate that comes in to the next mayor seat is one that understands the economic cycle, understands how to play with the idea of interest rates, Federal Reserve policy movement, and then really influence our, I would say, strengths in front of these corporations. It's economic perspective at the end of everything. For far too long, the city's been run by people that do not understand economic perspective, and that's why we lag behind everyone.
Thank you. Mr. Reyes, why should we vote for you?
So I have an invested interest in the city as a whole, not a specific part, because all my family lives throughout the entire city. And when I say that, it's not just placating to anybody. I have family member in the Northeast, Northwest, South Side, East Side, West Side. I'm familiar with all those areas. I used to drive buses for VIA for 2 years all over the entire city. So I have a very different perspective than a lot of the people running for mayor here. I have 15 years active duty service, 3 in combat zones. So I have a multitude of skills in leadership, emergency management. Again, with the crime thing, I'm dealing with terrorists overseas. It's not necessarily the same, but the way that you find these individuals and hold them accountable could be utilized the same way. So I have a very broad view of all aspects that our city needs to get involved in. And I'm not afraid to lean on individuals that's their expertise if I don't know what I'm doing. And I have no problem saying that. I'm not going to take the city and say, this is what we're going to do if I don't consult with individuals that are saying, hey, that doesn't make sense. So I think that's why people should vote for me, because I'm the guy that's going to stand in the gap, and I'm not the guy that's going to get bullied into whatever the city manager or the council or whatever is pushing against, especially if it's not in the interest of the city.
Okay, thank you. And at the end of this roundtable discussion, I would like to thank our sponsor, Crown Ridge Title, for graciously allowing us to use their training room. Please like and subscribe Matini Time on YouTube for more content like this, unfiltered interview, and where we just carry the truth and deliver it to you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.